In regards to Colorado, Chinese don't really start entering Colorado until the 1870s, and that's because there were Chinese workers on the Transcontinental Railroad. So the Transcontinental Railroad is finished in 1869, and after 1869, they're already kind of in the middle of the country, and one of the places they end up going to is Denver.
The anti-Chinese riot here in Denver happened on Halloween in 1880, and it was basically due to prejudice against the Chinese for accepting cheaper wages than white folks were having, particularly the Irish, and some of the working classes were upset about that. It also tied into a national election that year where race and immigration and restriction of immigration was a big issue. So people were worked up over this issue of immigrants, the same story we have today, taking the cheap jobs, being a criminal element, causing problems. Much of that, of course, was not true of the Chinese, who were harmless.
In promising Chinese that, hey, come to Colorado, you'll be protected, you'll be safe, they were hoping that that would bring them in. That ended up being an empty promise.
It started in a bar on Wazee Street where two Chinese were playing pool, and they started being teased and taunted by the Anglo customers there. So the Chinese ducked out the back door, but this crowd followed them and started persecuting them and other Chinese, and ransacked buildings, set buildings on fire, tried to destroy the Chinatown.
Officials weren't part of the riot. The mayor, it was Mayor Sofris, he was there, he and some other officials were trying to stop the riot. At some point, the mayor actually asks the fire department to turn their fire hoses on people to try to stop them from rioting, but that just makes them angrier, and so actually escalates the riot even further. Part of the eradication was a result of the 1882 Chinese Exclusion Act, that Chinese just couldn't come in, and so there's only so much population growth if Chinese were banned from immigrating to the United States. So the population begins to die off, or there's not new people coming in.
The irony of the anti-Chinese riot is they were persecuted for being the dirty, filthy Chinese, and they were the ones that were doing everyone's laundry, not only cleaning people's clothes, but cleaning their houses as housekeepers and their gardens as gardeners. So they're the ones that keeping the whole city clean, and yet they're persecuted as being dirty, filthy Chinese.
I think that the main after effect of the riot is that it's forgotten. When I teach it to my students, they've never heard of it. I tell them there is a Chinatown, right along 16th Street Mall, and that blows their mind. That speaks multitudes, because Chinese and other Asians today are usually considered to be, recent immigrants. They're mistaken for being foreign, right? Asian Americans will often get the question, where are you from? No, where are you really from? But if you understand that there's this longer history of Chinese Americans, Asian Americans, that becomes a harder stereotype to maintain. So I think the fact that it's forgotten enables that stereotype of, Asians don't belong or are foreigners. I think perhaps it's not an after effect, but that it's related in that sense, the forgetting of the longer history of Asian Americans and how Asian Americans are seen today.